Thank you, Alice, and good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Hong Kong. Especially good to see a big crowd with old friends around the room. Let me start by thanking SIFMA for inviting me to this conference. It's my great pleasure to share with you Hong Kong's vision and also the concrete steps that we've been taking to strengthen our leading role in green and sustainable finance. As we come into spring, after a rather cold winter, and as we see different, rather unusual weather patterns around different parts of the world, I think it's a good time to talk about the advances that happen in climate finance as we create the right ecosystem to support the new opportunities. And in the financial world, green and sustainable finance brings extraordinary opportunities and new ones as well. And if we are to look for the best ecosystems for these opportunities to flourish, Hong Kong will be the place. The climate challenge to Asia is huge and also urgent, and to meet this challenge will require substantive investment. And some market estimates suggest that over the next 3 decades, $66 trillion will be needed for transition financing. And in Asia alone, and in China alone, we need more than 100 trillion yuan. And this multi-trillion-dollar funding need can hardly be met by just the public sector, and climate finance will have to play a crucial role. It helps the public sector raise funding from the market to finance climate projects and initiatives. It also mobilizes private capital to directly fund climate actions. In the process, the private sector gets to mitigate the climate risk of their own assets while at the same time seeking reasonable returns. So by doing well, we also aim at doing good. As an international financial center and also a green finance hub, our vision is to play a big role in harnessing the power of finance to support the transition efforts in the region. And this vision is underpinned by a very strong commitment and concrete actions that help create a conducive ecosystem here where market financing can scale and can bring about desirable opportunities and outcomes for the financial sector. A vibrant and competitive climate finance ecosystem needs to be underpinned by 3 critical elements. First is standards, then data, and also talent. And this work requires leadership from the public sector, but importantly, partnership with the private sector. So in all these 3 areas, the HKMA is joining hands with other financial regulators, academia, and also the business community to pursue different initiatives in the 3 areas that I talk about. And much of that effort is coordinated through a cross-agency steering group on green and sustainable finance, jointly founded by the HKMA and also our Securities and Futures Commission. Let me elaborate more about these 3 critical elements. First, on standards. A common set of green standards, to the extent possible, is important to enhance transparency, comparability, and also efficiency of climate finance. And Hong Kong is the front runner in setting regulatory requirements for the financial sector. We are the first Asian jurisdiction to require climate-related disclosure across the financial sector by 2025, in line with TCFD, which is the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. They've got a global framework that we all adhere to. We also made an early commitment to adopt new standards promulgated by the ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board. And on taxonomy, Hong Kong adopts the Common Ground taxonomy that's jointly developed by EU and China. And we are now exploring the development of a green classification framework on the basis of this China-EU taxonomy in order to provide the necessary disclosure and guidance to inform capital allocation and encourage market discipline. And the HKMA has also set very clear rules, for example, by formulating clear supervisory requirements and integrating climate risk into the supervisor-driven stress test framework. The various regulatory requirements help build climate resilience into our banking and financial sector. In the process, financial intermediaries, such as banks, also act as facilitators to help the real sector adapt and transition in line with global consensus and commitment in order to achieve carbon neutrality. The second critical element is data, which is one of the, I would say that probably the hardest part when we pursue a climate finance ecosystem. Currently, there's a lack of accessible, standardized data and analytics support in the market. And that presents a big challenge, not just for climate risk management, but also for other purposes, like portfolio assessment and business development. In fact, in our own stress tests that we require of the banks, that's the main complaint. And we are working together with other regulators and the private sector to try to address these issues by improving data accessibility and developing a common data repository and analytics capability for the use of the industry. And we're making good progress. One recent example is our collaboration with CDP, Carbon Disclosure Project, which is a leading international environmental disclosure platform. We, together with CDP, launched a climate risk assessment project that helps corporates, especially the SMEs, in reporting company-level climate-related data in order to facilitate banks and other financial institutions to assess their climate risk and also to make their credit decisions. Let me now turn to the third critical element, which is talent. It's very dear to our heart, and there are multiple tasks that we are undertaking on this. One is training. We began by collating and sharing information about high-quality training courses and qualifications through a centralized platform run by the Center for Green and Sustainable Finance. And two is incentives. We've got the government to fund a green finance training scheme which provides subsidies to help market practitioners, students, and graduates to obtain training and qualifications relating to green and sustainable finance. So if you have not made use of the scheme yet, use it. Three is developing a regulator-approved knowledge framework, or what we call the Enhanced Competency Framework, which is to provide a more structured program for banking practitioners to build their knowledge and expertise in green and sustainable finance. This is a major undertaking that calls for, again, collaboration between the public and private sector, and it requires more than just regulatory push. The developmental work is equally important to provide the necessary ecosystem and supports climate financing. In fact, Hong Kong has gone a long way in this regard and has firmly established our leadership role in the field of green and sustainable finance. As a snapshot, if you look at the green and sustainable debt issuance in Hong Kong, it totaled $57 billion in 2021. It accounted for about a third of international issuance of green and sustainable bonds in Asia. And in 2022, we continue to see strong momentum, in particular in the area of green and sustainable loans. The vibrant green debt scene is in part a result of many breakthroughs made by the government green bond program. Since 2019, the HKMA has assisted the government in issuing about almost $16 billion worth of green bonds, targeting both institutional and retail investors. We make use of each issuance of this government bond program to innovate and expand the suite of green bond products in terms of currencies. Now we have RMB, Euro, and US dollar issuance, tenor, and also distribution channels, thus laying the ground for other public and private sector issuers in the region. And these issuances under the government green bond program keep pushing the boundaries. So we've got quite a number of firsts. We've issued, for example, the world's largest retail green bond issuance. We issued the largest ESG bond issuance in Asia just a few months ago. And we also helped the government issue the world's first government tokenized green bond. And we will continue to seek new breakthrough using the government bond program. In the coming 5 years, the planned issuance size will further increase from $35 billion a year to $65 billion a year. The mandate of the Green Bond Program will also be extended to cover not just green bonds, but also sustainable bonds. As we develop a new infrastructure bond program for the government in order to finance future infrastructure developments in Hong Kong, we will also think about how best to incorporate green and sustainability elements into the program. We will continue to press ahead with the experimentation of the tokenized green bond, leveraging the blockchain technology to enhance, not just enhancing the efficiency of bond issuance and transaction, but we want to, for the next issuance, we want to further explore real-time tracking and reporting of environmental impact of projects funded by the bond proceeds, so that investors potentially will know real-time what the investments, the climate impact that the investment has made almost in real time. And in order to promote financial inclusion, we're also looking into an arrangement to earmark a certain proportion of future green and infrastructure bond investments, issuances for priority investment by our mandatory provident fund, fund holders. And that will provide a meaningful investment option for the MPF scheme members to receive reasonable returns while helping to invest in a better future for our own city. Climate finance is a subject that's very dear to the heart of all of us gathering here. And it's also an exciting subject that I can keep talking about for the whole morning. But I'm aware that I've taken more time than I should have, so I'll close here. And what remains for me is to wish the SIFMA event every success and double down on the HKMA's commitment to working with SIFMA on our common purpose of scaling up Hong Kong's green and sustainable finance. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.